This is the scariest place on Earth. Deeper than submarines can reach, darker than your mind can imagine, and hiding things that will make your blood run cold. But every day, billions of people pass through without a second thought, riding on the backs of gigantic monsters. Welcome to the Twilight Zone. Between 200 and 1,000 meters deep, the ocean plunges from the sunlit realm into eternal darkness. Here, a world unlike our own thrives in crushing pressures and freezing temperatures. No light means no plants. No plants means no oxygen, which means if you descend beneath the surface, you have just minutes to get out before you suffocate. Yet somehow life finds a way. Weird, wonderful, and sometimes terrifying life. Creatures in the Twilight Zone have evolved to see in the dark, hear in the dark, and hunt in the dark. For starters, there's the ninja lantern shark. As its name suggests, it has a luminous lure dangling from its head, like a fishing rod baited with a glowing worm. But instead of catching fish, this one dangles its lure to attract smaller sharks. Then, when they get close enough, the ninja lantern shark pounces. With rows upon rows of needle-sharp teeth. Next, the vampire squid. It drifts through the darkness, almost invisible. Its skin is transparent except for its huge red eyes, which glow like embers in the black. But the vampire squid doesn't need to chase down its prey. Instead, it waits until unsuspecting prey swims within reach, then shoots out a sticky tongue to trap them. But these are just appetizers. Further down, things get stranger and spookier. There's the anglerfish, one of the creepiest looking creatures in the sea. Imagine a fish with jaws full of needle-sharp teeth, eyes that bulge out like saucers, and a body that glows in the dark. And the anglerfish isn't even scary by accident. All those weird features help it survive in the darkest depths of the Twilight Zone. Its most famous feature is the glowing appendage that dangles in front of its mouth. This acts like a fishing rod, attracting prey straight into its gaping jaws. But finding food isn't the only challenge in the Twilight Zone. For example, communicating in the dark is tough. After all, you can't exactly shout across the abyss. So many creatures have developed other ways to communicate. Take the hatchetfish. It uses tiny muscles near its eyes to produce clicks, pops, and other sounds. These sounds help the fish find mates, defend its territory, and maybe even hunt. But perhaps the spookiest sounds come from the bloop. In 1997, hydrophones listening for whales in the Pacific Ocean picked up an unusual sound. It was loud enough to be heard thousands of kilometers away, and it wasn't any kind of whale. To this day, nobody knows what made the bloop. Some say it was ice shifting underwater, but others whisper of a giant creature that science has never seen. The truth is, we simply don't know. After all, this is the Twilight Zone, and like all mysterious places, it's attracted plenty of conspiracy theories. Some say it's home to entire civilizations of creatures beyond our wildest imaginations. Others say it's haunted by ghosts of sailors lost at sea. Personally, I prefer to stick with the facts, and the facts are this. The Twilight Zone is full of strange and wonderful creatures. But the strangest and most wonderful of all might be the flashes. In recent years, scientists have noticed something strange happening in the Twilight Zone. Entire schools of fish are suddenly glowing in sync. One minute everything is dark and silent, and the next the ocean around them lights up like fireworks. Then just as quickly, it all vanishes into silence again. What's going on? Scientists have no idea. Maybe it's a defense mechanism to confuse predators. Maybe it's a way to communicate, or maybe it's something else entirely. The truth is, we simply don't know. After all, this is the Twilight Zone, and like all frontiers, it holds dangers as well as wonders. Many creatures here are beautiful and fascinating, but also deadly. There are giant squid, colossal squid, anglerfish, vampire squid, lantern sharks, and all kinds of other weird and wonderful beasts. In fact, some scientists estimate that 90% of the species in the Twilight Zone are still unknown to science. And that means anything could be lurking in the darkness. Anything at all? I know what you're thinking. You want proof? Well, here it is. There are all kinds of creatures living in the Twilight Zone that we've never even seen, let alone named and classified. That means anything could be lurking in the darkness. Anything at all. To be honest, I'm not surprised that so much of the ocean remains unexplored. I mean, just think about it. We've explored more of the surface of the moon than we've explored the Twilight Zone. Yeah, we've sent astronauts to the moon, but how many expeditions have we sent to the Twilight Zone? Not nearly enough. The truth is, we haven't even begun to explore the Twilight Zone, and that scares me. But it also excites me because who knows what we might find? Maybe there are entire ecosystems thriving down there that we never even knew existed. Maybe there are all kinds of creatures lurking in the darkness that are just waiting to be discovered. Who knows? Anything is possible in the Twilight Zone, and that's why I am so glad that there are people who are brave enough to explore it. People like Dr. Craig Smith. He's a marine biologist who's been studying the Twilight Zone for over 20 years. He's discovered all kinds of amazing things down there, like giant squid, deep-sea hatchetfish, and even a new species of lantern shark. He says it's one of the most exciting places in the world. And I believe him. There are all kinds of strange and wonderful things happening in the Twilight Zone that we're only just beginning to understand. For example, there are these massive migrations happening down there. Every day, billions of small fish swim up from the Twilight Zone to feed on the plankton in the upper layers of the ocean. Then, when the sun comes up, they swim back down before the birds and the fish can catch them. It's a constant cycle that's been going on for millions of years. And it's one of the reasons why the Twilight Zone is such an important part of our planet. After all, the creatures that live there control Earth's carbon cycle. They eat the plankton and then they poop it out, releasing carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere. If we can understand this better, we might be able to predict how climate change will affect the ocean and the rest of the planet. So yes, there are dangers in the Twilight Zone, but there are also opportunities. The problem is, big corporations are already getting involved. They're sending in massive trawlers to scoop up the fish and sell them as sashimi. And they're reusing sonar to find new ways to drill for oil and gas in the deepest parts of the ocean. We simply can't let that happen. The Twilight Zone is one of the last frontiers on Earth. It's a place of monsters, mysteries, and secrets that could change the fate of the planet. And we're just beginning to explore it. And now I'm gonna ask you, the viewer, to do something very important. Please take a moment to think about what you've just heard. How does the Twilight Zone make you feel? Scared, excited, curious? Why? What do you think is the most important thing we should do about the Twilight Zone? Should we explore it more? Should we protect it, or something else entirely? Once you've thought of something, write it down in the comments below. That's right, this is an assignment. But don't worry, it's not a scary one, I promise. After all, this is the Twilight Zone. And in the Twilight Zone, the scariest thing of all is the unknown. But we don't have to face the unknown alone. We can do it together. So please take a moment to think about what you've just heard. How does the Twilight Zone make you feel? Scared, excited, curious? Why? What do you think is the most important thing we should do about the Twilight Zone? Should we explore it more? Should we protect it? Or something else entirely? Once you've thought of something, write it down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. And remember, the scariest thing in the Twilight Zone is the unknown. But we don't have to face the unknown alone. We can do it together.